Hello, my name is Jordan Gibbs. I'm part of the technical education here at Go Lake High School, and I'm here to tell you a bit about a program I made in Linux. This program I made supposedly is supposed to ping IP addresses in a network. And I'm going to show you a little bit about the basics that I learned using the TCM security course. So first off, I have a little bit of a thing here. I'm going to close that out. And I'm gonna start off with what I learned. So I learned how to do basic file commands and file navigation. So I do ls, and that lists me all these things. This right here is the program I use, but we're gonna get to that a little bit later. I could change directories. All I gotta do is do cd, and then any any folder or anything that I want, just do cd, change directory. Now as we can see here, this is the home right here, or the base, this little squiggly. But now I'm in the downloads folder. We learned a little bit about that. And if I ever wanted to move back, I could always do cd dot dot. Those are basically the basics for that. As you can see, I'm back in the squiggly. But after I learned about the navigating the file, I learned about more about users and privileges. I learned about just different things. For example, if I go to ls, use the ls-la command, I find a bunch of different files here. Well, what do they all mean? I learned about the different color codings, as here this is like just a file, I think, or and then this with the D has its directory. Um, and then we have this thing here. It's a link. I'm not used to those yet, but I will be learning those soon. And here we have my program. As we see, these are the different commands we have. We have read, write, and execute. That's what the RWX stands for. Um, and these three dots right here is for the group, and these three dots for and these three things right here is for the users. Now you can change permissions on who has those kind of permissions, but all you gotta do is just like cmod, and then we got you could do plus x or plus um, rwx, and then you just type in the file name you got. But there's also different things you could do. So if I pull up my notes here, I have notes here, and we have different numbers, CMOD numbers, and we see that 7 is like read, write, and execute. So if I did 777, let's go with this one right here. It only has read and write execute. So I'm gonna do 777 dot x session dash errors. I have no idea what this file does, but I'm just gonna do it anyway. Now if I do a ls-la again, we could see here that it now has read, write, and execute for both groups and users and my user, the owner. And that's a bit about the basics I did there. The next thing I learned about was the different network commands there are. There's too much to go over here in this short little video that I'm trying to do here, but one of the most important things we did was if config. It gives us our IP address, netmask, broadcast, all that different stuff here. And another thing we used is the ping. So I did ping 192.168.13.132, which is my IP address, and it just pings it to see if it's active. As we see, I get this many data. Oh, it just keeps on going. Trick quick, or a fast trick to stop this, you just do Control C, and it says we got 13, count at 13. This is all the data it's received from it, and we just learned about that. But this actually has to do with the script that I made. and I'll get into that in a second. So now that I have my notes back open to my Python bash scripting that I learned in TCM security, we have this thing here where it pings the IP address here, but it only does it one time, as we see 1C1, and we got one packet of data, as we see here. And I moved that into an ip.txt file, and I called that, and it gave me that amount of data here. Now I'm gonna show you what that script kind of looks like. So all you gotta do is hit mouse pad, and what I named mine was IP sweep. It basically pings IP addresses. Do that, and we have my script here. This appears called a shebang here. I learned that's fun little term here. And we have if that $sign, which that $sign, sorry about that. So this $sign correlates to this IP address. So this right here is think of it as like a shortened IP address. We have $.IP. That's basically my IP address, but I just put it in as $.IP or $1.IP, and it's pinging that one time, as we can see, $-C1, and it's just pinging that one time. And then this little pipe here, that allows me to go on to another command, and I grab 64 bits from that, which is like right here. It just grabs one line, I think. And this cut thing, it just grabs from the 4 lines. So one thing I could think of how to put this is, I had to look at my notes for a second. So all we gotta do here is, if I exit this out real quick, and I go here, and I do cat ips.txt. This is where I sent my script to. So if I do that, I have these different IP addresses here. But if I do cat ips.txt, and then I do, sorry, I had to change that for this to work. So all I'm gonna do is do cat ips.txt. Well, actually, first I gotta ping that first. So I'm gonna go to ping 192.168.13.132, and then I'm gonna do 1C1, and then I'm gonna bring that over to iptts. I'm just gonna call it that .txt. This just creates a new file. I'm not going to use the one I already have because I don't want it to mess up anything. And I'm just going to ping that once. So after we do that, I'm going to cat it, cat ipts.txt, and we see we have one packet of data transferred. Now this 64 bits is where the grep command comes into play. Is where that like 4 comes into play. So if I do mouse pad, I'm gonna just put that in there. We see we have the 64 bits down here. This would be for the ip.txt. I'm just using ipts.txt for an example. So all it's doing is it's grabbing those 64 bits right here. It's grabbing from this line down here, and it's cutting every space for 4. So if we count this is 1, this is 2, 3, and on the 4th one it grabs this IP. That's what it's trying to do here for a count of 4. And this tr-t, after looking back at my notes again, I figured out that this means translate. And what it's basically doing is it's taking out this thing in the IP address. So if we look back down here, we see it has this right here in the IP address. We don't want that. We just want the IP address. So what we do is we use the translate. And this -d, if you've been wondering what that means, it just specifies the delimiter or the certain string that we want, I think. something like that. And this, it just removes this because we only want the IP address. And this basically says, if we read through it, if $sign is equal to nothing, it echoes you forgot an IP address. So if I run this correctly, so to run this, I'm gonna do, if I pull this back up here, oh, I gotta exit out of this first. Exit out of that. We're gonna do ./IP sweep .sh, but I'm gonna forget the IP address on purpose though. And it says you forgot an IP address syntax. IP sweep dot this, because that's my IP. That's the IP address up here. So we got that. Because we don't have the .132 because it's gonna go through all of those and see which ones we have by pinging them. So if you go back to mousepad .ip sweep, we're gonna see here that we have, if we do have an IP address, it's gonna say for IP in sequence 1 to 154, because if you're not familiar with subnetting, this value at the end here, it goes through 1 to 254. Why doesn't go to 255 and 0? That's because those are meant for the broadcast and network IPs. Those you always want to subtract 2. And we subtracted the 0 in the 1, or in the 255. So now that we have all that figured out, we ping it once, we grab that data, and we cut it for the space, which is the IP address, and then we get that 4, and then we translate it to remove that, and then it's done. And then that's how our scripting is done here. The main thing I wanted to focus on in this video was the scripting, but we might as well go over some of my notes that I did. And some of the more things I learned. I didn't go over this, which was installing tools. I installed Pimp My Kali. I just went to GitHub. These are a bit of the things I did. Starting and stopping services. We did Apache to start, Apache to stop, yada yada yada. Bunch of different stuff. I just wanted to go through these real quick. I'm not gonna talk too much about it. I'm more of just gonna give an overview of it. We use the echo command, which is basically print in Python, and we put that into a file, and then we touched it, and we have notes on this. It creates a new file, and a bunch of other stuff. And I also did networking. Of course, I think I went over that earlier, but these are a bunch of things I went over. I have images in here. Again, I want to stress that it's important to take notes. And I think that's about all I'm going to go over for this video. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you have a good day. Stay blessed.